Hey everyone, it's Jill the Wandering Stamper, and happy Wednesday to you. I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to show you how to make a pleated fold card, fun fold card using 12 by 12 designer series paper and also a twist on it, so you will know how to make the same kind of card using your 6 by 6 designer series paper. It's a lot of fun to create these cards, and it's a great way to use your designer series paper, especially those scenic papers, in an impactful way. So give me a moment to turn the camera down and we'll get started. Thanks so much for joining me today. So for the first card, I'm going to be using the Adventurous Sky cling stamps and also the coordinating dies. I love these stamps and dies. It's such a unique stamp set, and it's a great one to have for masculine cards and children's cards. So lots of fun. And of course, in the suite of products, you also get this fabulous designer series paper. I keep using this paper over and over. I'm almost done with my first pack, but the paper is fabulous. I have shown this suite of products in a past video, so if you've seen that, you've seen how beautiful everything is. So we're going to be creating two types of cards. The first card is going to be an accordion in the middle, and it's going to be using 12 by 12 paper. And then I'm going to show you a spin on that using 6 by 6 paper. So let's get started with this card. The base of the card is very easy. Let me get my cart rolled over so I can reach it. So to start this card, you're going to need, I'm going to use smoky slate, and you're going to use half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. We're going to use the card's going to open the long way, so you're going to cut a piece of smoky slate 4 1/4 by 11, and we're going to score it at 5 1/2. Okay. So that is going to be our card base, and then I'm going to pair it with copper clay. I love copper clay. It is such a pretty color. I can't wait till fall when I use this for fall too. But this is a fabulous color. So I'm looking to see if I have any smaller pieces, and I don't, so we'll be cutting a big piece. So I want to create a layer on top of this. So that layer is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. It's just going to be slightly smaller. So let's see. Let's do 4 by 5 1/4. I'm just going to put my cutter on the 5 1/4 mark and cut it that way so I'm not cutting my whole sheet of paper. All right. So that is going to layer right here on top, and then we're going to use a piece of designer series paper. Now I'm going to be using this blue cloud, so I'm going to pull that out now, and then the other piece I'm going to use, one moment, I gotta find it, is this pretty pattern. It's kind of a, I don't know, mechanical pattern. Not sure what you would call that, but that's the other piece I'm going to use. So this is going to be layered on top. So we've got smoky slate in both of these pieces, so it's going to pull it all together. So that piece is going to be 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going to cut it 3 3/4. So I'm just going to put my cutter at the 3 3/4 mark, so that I'm not cutting too much of my paper. All right, so there's our next layer. So these are all going to layer together really nicely. And then while we're at it, we're going to be cutting some paper for the inside. And I did not write my measurements down for that, so we'll do that in a little bit. All right, the next thing we need is a piece of 12 by 12 paper. Now if it's directional, make sure you get your directions right. So the paper needs to run this direction, so we're going to cut it 4 by 12. So you'll actually be able to make 3 of these cards with one sheet of paper, which is great. So 4 by 12, and now we're going to do a bunch of scoring. So we're going to start at the 3 inch mark. Stick my arm out here. and we're going to cut it, we're going to score it at 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, and 9 inches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right. So now that that's done, let me show you how to do some assembling. So since I'm not stamping on this at all, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down onto my card base. So we'll get those things out of the way. Hopefully you cannot hear my fan. I have my fan running. It's so beautiful. We have the windows open and I have my RV, I don't know what you call it, but it's a, I think it's called a fantastic fan, but it's a fan that just kind of sucks air out of the RV, but it also really makes the air flow come in through the windows and kind of flow through the RV. So have that on today so I don't have to run the air conditioning here in Colorado. And oh, the weather is fabulous, but hopefully you can't hear my fan too much or any of the outdoor noises. The campground's pretty quiet today because it's during the week, which makes it a little easier to have the windows open when I'm filming something. All right, so we're just gonna layer that down just like that. All right, so there's our base. Now before we build the front, we'll go ahead and do the inside so that way nothing is bulky. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open this up and we're gonna start creating our pleated inside. So remember, we have a 4 by 12 inch sheet of paper and we've scored it at 3 inches, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 inches. All right, lots of folds. So we're gonna start out by folding a valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold. All right, so you have an accordion. Make sense? So the way this card goes is it is going to be layered right with a small border, 1/4 inch border or 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So it goes like that. All right, so what I like to do first is put the back piece on. So I'm just going to flip over my card. I'm holding everything but that last pleat, and I'm just going to put down some adhesive. I'm using liquid glue today. So I'm just going to put some of this down. All right. And then make sure your paper's facing the right direction. Mine is clouds, so I don't want my clouds upside down. And then I'm just going to place this down about right here. And then just make sure everything's straight. The liquid glue gives you a second to move things around. That looks good. So now that that's down, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to add some adhesive to this top panel. You don't want to add too much because you don't want it to go over the edges and make your card hard to open and close. All right, so I'm just kind of holding that, and then I'm going to put down the top layer, and I'm just going to burnish it down, make sure it all sticks. So there you go. That is your accordion for the inside. Isn't that cool? So now we're going to add some fun stuff to it. So let me go ahead and cut the inside. I didn't write down my measurements because I know it's because most of the time I'm eyeballing this. So this piece is about 3 inches from this last score line to the end by 4 inches, 3 by 4. So that means I am going to take some Night of Navy. I have some scraps over here. So I'm going to take a piece of Night of Navy and I'm going to make it just slightly smaller. So we said it was 3 by 4. So I'm going to make it 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. All right, so now that is going to layer nicely on this last panel. Let me write that down so I have it. 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, so now we want to create one piece of white for the inside, and that'll be where we do our stamping. So let me grab another scrap. I never seem to grab enough scraps. Okay, so we're going to just make that one slightly smaller. So we'll do this one 2 1/2. Actually, we'll do 2 5/8. We're going to just make a very small border. 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. 2 5/8 by 3 5/8. So that leaves just a very, very narrow border, and that's all I want. I just want it to kind of stand out a little bit more. So let me write this down, because when I create the instructions on the blog post for you, I definitely want to make sure I give you the right information. Okay, so these two pieces are going to go on the inside, so let's go ahead and do some stamping. I'm going to grab the boho blue and the stamp that says "You're the best, plain and simple." I think that's super cute. So we're going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp this. You probably can't see me right now, but I want to make sure I do a good job. All right, that is perfect. So that is the front. Let me clean this stamp off because I'm working in a tight space today. I've managed to make a really big mess today, and I've got stamps everywhere. Sometimes when I stamp all day, my mess just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and of course my table is so tiny in the RV that it doesn't take long for me to only have a 12-inch square workspace, let me tell you. Alright, so I'm just putting a little liquid glue down and layering this piece onto our Night of Navy. I love how all these colors go together so well. And now I'm going to add, I don't even have my silicone craft sheet out or anything. We're really living dangerously right now. But I've got everything buried, so it happens. Alright, so now I'm going to just layer this on the inside, and now you have a place to write your message. Alright, so now we're going to switch back over to the front. So I flattened that out a little, so I just have to refold it. Alright, so now we're going to work on building some fun things. So before you came on, I went ahead and die cut in smoky slate and copper clay these pieces for the plane. And then I took some silver foil paper and cut out a propeller. And then I also have a whole bunch of clouds, because I knew I wanted to layer some clouds on there. So what I'm going to do is definitely get my silicone craft sheet out now, because that was a dangerous thing not having it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is glue this together. So when you glue these two pieces, just kind of look ahead of time to see what's going to have glue on it. So what I'm having glue on basically is this tail piece and this piece here, and then maybe in just a little bit of this right here. So that's the only three pieces you really have to worry about putting glue on. And since we're not really putting it up in the air or anything, it's not a big deal if you get it where it's not supposed to be. But just wanted to point that out. And I'm putting a few drops on the wheels so they stay in place. Alright, so now you just have to line up the wheels, this fuselage right here, and then this little tail piece. And pretty much if this tail piece is on there nice and straight, it all just comes together. My dog has found a piece of food under his food dish, and he's trying desperately to get it, so you may hear him. Okay, so that piece is done. So now we just want to put a little drop of liquid glue down to add our propeller. I love the silver on the propellers. Now with the propeller die, it cuts out two propellers. So I always make sure to cut a couple of those and have extra propellers on hand, so that way you're not always having to cut them. I only have to cut them once in a while. All right, so there's our plane. I'm going to set that there to dry for a moment. And I decided I wanted a message on my card, but I didn't want it to get lost in the patterns on this paper. And I also didn't want to make a separate tag, so I decided, well, why not stamp right on this cloud? So I've got the stamp that says flying by to say hi, and the smoky slate stamp pad, because I want to keep that nice and subtle since it's a cloud. So we're going to ink that up. My smoky slate and my mossy meadow are in desperate need of inking, so hopefully this works out okay. All right. So there's our saying. I think that will work. It's a little lower than I'd like it, but I think we'll be okay. If not, we'll do another one. All right, let me clean this stamp off so I don't make a mess. So now we're going to do some assembling. So what I'm going to do is work with my clouds first. So I want to kind of build, there's 3 different size clouds. So I kind of want to build a little cloud bank. So for this piece, I'm going to go ahead and glue it flat on the paper. And then the other ones, we're going to use some dimensionals. Do you hear that child screaming? Running through the campground. Okay. All is well. It's just a toddler. All right. So now I'm going to grab a few pieces of these clouds. There's a few different sizes, so I'm going to grab a couple of these and maybe the skinny one here. And I'm going to grab my dimensionals, which are buried somewhere on my desk. You would not believe the mess I've made today. It's so bad. Okay. So here is the dimensionals. So I'm going to put one here. Which one did we write our message on? Oh, we already put that on there. Okay. All right. This just fits on here. Now I think I'm going to need a few end pieces. So what I do is use my sticky scissors and I cut smaller pieces from the extra portions of the edges of these sheets. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. So I just grab some of those and fill in the spaces because you don't want to have, that's too big. You don't want to have a bunch of pieces all over the place. All right, I'm going to start with this big cloud. And I'm going to put that one right there. And then this little cloud I'm going to do there. And then this last cloud will just maybe put it right here. And I can see that I probably need to have one small dimensional, so let's grab those. Here's my small ones. And I'm going to just tuck that under the edge here. Do a little card surgery. There we go. We just didn't want anything getting smushed. So that looks good. So now we're going to figure out where we want this plane. So I think the plane's just going to hang out about right there. I mean, we could put it down here too. So I'm going to start out by just putting some of these dimensionals on here. So we'll put one here. These planes are so much fun. I really like them. You know, my son-in-law is an Apache pilot, And my other son-in-law is also in the military, and he does maintenance and stuff on the Apache. So I don't know how I ended up with two son-in-laws that basically work in the same building in the military, but it is pretty cool. So too bad I don't have a helicopter stamp set or an Apache stamp set, because they would really get a kick out of that. But I do have airplanes. Alright, so as you can see, this one has some thin spots too. So again, I'm going to get my sticky scissors out and just cut some little strips off these edges. What is this? Like so. And then I'll put these. I've cut this one too many times apparently. So we're going to put the skinny one right here. The main thing is you just don't want these to show. And we'll put one here. Alright. Take off all my papers. And now my dog has his toy with the squeaker. You guys, he is usually really quiet. Alright, so there's our plane. Look how cool that is. Alright, we're going to add some embellishments. Let me clean up this mess here. So let's grab, let's see what we have here. I'm going to use these really cool, these are the Basic Gray and Smoky Slate pearls. I really like these. I think they look great with this card. So I'm going to put one here, and then we'll do a couple small ones up here. They still kind of go along with the rustic theme. They add some glam, but they still look nice and masculine. So I like these. I like these for that card. All right. So there's the front of our card. Now let's work on the inside. So I still have some of these clouds left that we cut out earlier. So let's put these out so we know what we have. And then before you came on, I colored this little, this is one of the stamps. It's the medium plane. There's 3 different planes. There's a small, medium, and a large plane. This is one of the smaller planes, and I felt like it really went well here. So what I think I'd like to do is kind of build a picture here. So I'm going to take this medium cloud, if I could pick it up, and I think I'm going to start out with a little couple of clouds right here. So I'm looking to see where they're going to go, and then I know where to put my glue, because you obviously don't want to put glue in the wrong spot and glue things that aren't supposed to be glued. So I'm going to put this cloud up here. And then I think I'm going to put a smaller cloud about right here. It's fun. Sometimes I just enjoy building these little pictures. I think they're a lot of fun to do. All right. And then I'm going to put a bigger cloud here, but obviously I don't want this cloud sticking out. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to give it a little cut in half, so that now it can go right here. So I'm going to add that, like that. And then if you need to push them down, just put your fingers in there between the accordions. It's just fine. It'll be just fine. And then I think I'm going to add one more cloud, because this one looks a little bit plain. So I think I'll add a second one right here, and just to give it a little bit of layers. And you can just keep doing this until you're happy with it. That looks good. Just wanted to give it some depth. All right, and so now we have our airplane. So now I can put our airplane right there. So I'm only putting glue kind of where the propeller is. By the way, I colored the plane in smoky slate and copper clay so I can just continue to pull those colors together. So now I'm gluing our plane in there, and I'm going to check the back. Yep, make sure I didn't get any ink or glue where I'm not supposed to. All right, so there we go. There's our plane. And of course, when it's sitting on the counter, so they're going to get it and open it up, and look at that cute little scene, and it closes up perfectly. How fun, right? And it sits up just like that. So that's how you use this for a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. Now let me show you how to make one with a 6 by 6. It's very similar. The cuts are obviously just a little bit different. So this time we're going to use the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set. I love this stamp set. It's so pretty. And then we're going to pair it. Here we go. So this is the Thoughtful Journey Designer Series paper. This paper is so pretty. I've done some other videos with it. It's just, it's gorgeous. I just love it so much. So we are just going to grab the sheet here in the front. So this is another version of the accordion card, but just using 6 by 6 paper. So we're going to go ahead and grab our paper cutter again. And we've got the exact same base, which is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. All right, so that is the same. Then the next layer we want is for the top, and I've chosen Fresh Freesia. I feel like it goes really well with this is Mossy Meadow. So we've done that one at 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so that's the front. Now, let me show you what needs to be done. So now that you've got that, oh, and you're also going to need for the inside, I should probably tell you that now because it's just easier. You're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock cut at 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then you're going to be cutting 2 pieces of basic white at, sorry, this is 2 1/4 by 4. 2 of those, 2 1/4 by 4, and then 2 by 3 3/4. So 2 each of those, all right? And then this is a scrap. All right, so now we're going to take our 6 by 6 paper, and we're going to cut it so it's 4 by 6. It's directional, so you want this, cut the 4 inches off the top or bottom. All right, so now we have this. And then we're going to save this for the front of the card. So now we're going to do some scoring. You've got your 4 by 6. You're going to put it on the long side at the top, and you're going to do some scoring. You're going to score at 1 3/4 inches, 3 inches, and 4 1/4 inches. Okay, that's it. So now this is going to be folded the same. You're going to valley fold it, mountain fold it, valley fold it. All right, that's it. So you've got this. All right, so now let's start putting our card together. I told you it was pretty easy. So I'm going to start out with the front. So we've got our 4 by 5 1/4 paper. I've got to change my blades out. They're getting really dull. Remember we had that extra piece of paper. So that extra piece is going to go on the front. So you can glue it and use your scissors, or you can just cut it so it's 5 1/4. I'm just going to cut it. There we go. All right. So that is going to go on the front. Now before I glue this, I'm going to do a little stamping. So I grabbed the Dearest Friends stamp and the Mossy Meadow ink pad. In my Mossy Meadow, I've really got to ink it up after this. It's getting kind of dry, so it's not going to be as vivid as I like. I'm kind of inking up on the corner of the stamp pad where there might be more ink. But I'm going to stamp that hopefully straight. That is so not straight, so we're going to try it again. And this time I'm going to pull it out of your view so I can do it right. Okay, that's much better. It's really hard to do that with my head not in the camera. All right, we're gonna clean this off, get it out of the way. So now that that's stamped and I know I've not messed it up, I'm gonna go ahead and glue this piece of paper on here. Look, that's beautiful too. This designer series paper is gorgeous, and I love when they come out with, I call them scenic papers, the papers that have a little painted scene on them. I just think they're so pretty. Make sure your paper's the right direction. And we're going to just glue that down. All right. And then I've grabbed just some white grosgrain ribbon. Actually, I'm almost out. Might have to grab some more. All right, and then I'm going to find my glue dots. Here they are. And we're going to put a glue dot on each end of the ribbon. There we go. And the other side. And then I'm going to pop that right over the seam of my paper, so it kind of covers that up. You could also use cardstock. You could put a strip of Mossy Meadow cardstock here. That would work out as well. I'm gonna see if I have enough of this ribbon to tie a bow. All right, we are back in business with some ribbon. This is just some grosgrain ribbon I had, and I'm just going to tie a little bow here, just like that. All right, cut that down. All right, there we go. So of course, now this is ready to go on the front of the card. You know, I've got to change out my blade. When your cutting blade gets dull, you definitely notice. All right, so now we're just going to add some liquid glue to the back. You could also put this on with dimensionals if you wanted to. That would look nice, for sure. All right, went a little wonky with the glue, but it's fine. So now I'm gonna put this on the front. Look how pretty. So pretty. So I feel like it needs one more thing. So before you came on, I stamped Missing You onto a piece of white cardstock. And then this is the, I don't remember what it's called, but it's an oval punch and it's got 2 layers. So I'm going to cut out Missing You on the smaller layer, sort of in the middle. Okay. I will link the exact name of this punch. I think it's the scalloped oval punch. I'm not sure. I will look it up. But I love it because it punches out 2 pieces so that you can really make a tag quickly and make it really pretty. So I like that. So we're going to go ahead and add a couple dimensionals to this piece and pop this onto this fresh freesia layer, just like that. And now we can just add some liquid glue to the back and put that down on the bottom center of our card. Look how pretty. I just love how all these colors go together. All right, so now we're going to do a little gluing on the inside and we're going to create that accordion. So as you remember, on the 12 by 12, we put the accordion so that it was on the edge, and then we taped it down. But on this, we're using a significantly smaller piece of paper. So the way I do it is there's a center crease right here. So I like to line that center crease up with our score mark on our cardstock. So I just do that, and then I know exactly where my card's going to go down. So I'm adding some liquid glue now to that back panel. I'm making sure that my center seams are matched up, and then the height is right. And now I'm going to lay this cardstock, this designer series paper down, and so now I can fold it back up, and I know right where my other piece needs to be. All right. So by centering this score line up with the center seam, it'll put this paper exactly where it needs to be. So now I'm going to fold this down, and I'm just going to fold my card over, hold it for a second, and there we go. So we've got that accordion perfectly placed. All right, so remember we had these extra pieces here, and these are going to go on either side because we didn't want all that blank space, right? So on one of them, I've grabbed the You Make Life Better stamp, and then of course we have that mossy meadow because we want to keep our continuity of all of our colors. So I'm going to ink this up as good as I can on a dry ink pad, and I'm going to stamp that on the top. I actually got that one pretty straight. Clean off my stamp pad, and now we're going to layer this onto our fresh freesia cardstock. And again, the cardstock is 2 1/4 by 4, and the white, basic white, this is not the right piece. The basic white is 2 by 3 3/4. Okay. So that is going to be ready to go on the inside of our card. So now we're going to layer that right there. And so you have plenty of room to write. And then our other one's going to go on the right. Now, of course, I used the die or the punch on the wrong piece of paper, so we're going to have to cut another one of these real quick. Two 1/4 by 4. Of course, I didn't grab a 4-inch long piece of paper. There we go. This will work. So 2 1/4 by 4. I used my paper punch on the wrong layer. It happens. All right, so that works. So now we're going to add some liquid glue to this back piece. And that is going to go on this side. So as you can see, you'll have plenty of room to write your message to whoever is lucky enough to get this card. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It needs something. I think it needs some brass butterflies. I think that would be the perfect way to finish this card. So let's go ahead and grab a few. Let's put a big one here. And we'll put 2 of them up here. We'll put a big one and a little one. Now it looks complete. All right. So here is our card made with 6x6 Designer Series paper into an accordion fold. And it's so pretty. You could add something else. You could stamp up here if you wanted. It's just a pretty feminine, elegant card. So easy to make. And then, of course, here is our 12 by 12. And the only difference is the paper's longer and there's just more pleats. So there you go. Which one is your favorite? This is a great way to utilize your Designer Series paper to create a card that's going to wow somebody and to just have a lot of stinking fun making cards. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you get notification of my videos that are released every Wednesday. And don't forget to like it if you love it. And I will have a link down below to my blog with all of my cutting dimensions and instructions for you to make your card creating easy as pie. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you get a chance to craft today, and please enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next week. Bye.